Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video is a pretty sweet replay that I have for you here in the Bismarck, the mighty Tier 8 German battleship. I'm divisioned up with my buddies ElasticSpyder and Puddin 597. They're both playing in their Tier 8 British light cruisers, the Edinburgh, and we're playing some standard battle here on the map north. So, the Bismarck, this is a ship that is, well, quite frankly been featured a lot on our channel, and for good reason. This is one of the best battleships tier for tier in the game, and I was the last person in our clan to get this ship. I just got it, I think, last week, and I've only played 4 games in it, but I absolutely adore this thing. It is such a powerful boat. You have very good armor, specifically a very good bow, which can bounce up to and including 16-inch shells, and even tanky Yamato shell every now and then. You have rather inaccurate but still pretty good guns. They have a fast rate of fire. You obviously trade the torpedoes from the turrets with glorious secondaries that reach out to over 10 kilometers with a full secondary build. You also have pretty good AA, and a lot of those secondaries do double as AA mounts, so that's always a good thing. And even things such as concealment and maneuverability, you have what amounts to around a 12.3 kilometer detectability with a full concealment build. I do not have that on the ship right now, that's why it's 14.3, and about 30-31 knots top speed respectively. So this is just a well-rounded ship that really doesn't have too many weaknesses, and even in tier 10 games you can still do very well with the Bismarck. So I'm going to show you a quick screenshot here. This was the first game that I ever played in this ship. 206,000 damage. I only sank 1 boat. I got a high caliber and a Confederate. Made my way into Objective Bravo on the map Mountain Range, and just went in a big old circle. Pretty much like the circle of death that you do in something like a St. Louis or a Bogatyr at the low tiers. Just started spinning around in circles and letting my secondaries do the work, and holy crap, it was pretty freaking sweet. So yeah, that was the first taste that I ever had in the Bismarck, and it was an amazing game. So a few games after that, I decided to take it out for a spin yet again, and this is the replay that you are currently watching. So I get my 2 forward guns out on the enemy Gneisenau. So accuracy, like I mentioned, it's not very good. I only managed to hit 1 shell. I overpenned the bow of the Gneisenau there. Oh well, that is one crippling weakness, I suppose, of the Bismarck. If you do go with the secondary build, and you obviously don't use the accuracy equipment piece, it is rather inaccurate, and you do really have to get close. But because you have such good performing secondaries, there's no reason not to be honest with you. Shells falling in on the Otago. There we go. I get 1 shell. They get a Citadel. Not sure which one it was, but all right, very good start. Taking away quite a chunk of that hit points away from the enemy Tier 8 Japanese premium heavy cruiser there. And here at the beginning, we're heading over to where Objective Alpha would be if we were playing Domination. It's a typical brawling place for most battleships, at least. But as you can see, the enemy team is actually moving quite a bit away from that objective, or from that area of the map, I should say. But we're going to keep pushing over there nonetheless. And right there, 15 kilometers, you'd expect at least a shell or 2 to be able to hit. I thought I aimed correctly. The shells, most of them anyway, landed near the stern of the ship, and I wasn't able to get anything going out of it. Now, I'm going to royally screw up here on this Graf Spee, but that's okay because I got the secondaries to deal with it. So as he's getting ready to come around the corner, I was anticipating this. My buddies told me about it, and I'm getting ready for a full broadside here. As he comes around, I aimed just a tad too low and actually only managed 1 overpen for 1,300 damage or something like that. So rather unfortunate. But now my secondaries are going to town, and just listen and look at all of the guns shooting. Again, you get a range of 10.6 kilometers with these secondaries, and you have over 20 of them. And some of them are double-barreled, and the amount of hits, I mean, I already got 19 hits there on that enemy Gneisenau, and that number is going to skyrocket here as well. He's trying to run away. He does take a torpedo in the rear from one of my buddies in their Edinburgh, and yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Somehow don't manage a Citadel on the Otago. Still do about 15,000 points of damage on him nonetheless. I could have nuked him out right there, but unfortunately RNG did not throw me a bone. But my secondaries continue to pile on the shells on that Graf Spee, and you can see once again 18 hits, more shells falling in on him. Will I be able to snag the kill? I do not. Friendly Kagero that hit him with the torpedo, so it was the Kagero, it wasn't Puddin or Spyder. Alrighty then. Another broadside out on the Miyoko, and 3,400 damage, 3 overpens unfortunately. Whatever, no big deal. I did activate my hydroacoustic some time ago because I figured that the Graf Spee would probably be dropping torpedoes, which he did. That's one thing about the Bismarck that is really nice starting on the German battleship line here at Tier 8. You have access to the hydroacoustic, you know, the really good hydro that you are used to on your German cruisers. So it's a very powerful tool to be able to push in. And again, another reason why you should probably be closing the distance in the Bismarck. There's no reason to stay at range. I do manage over 7,000 damage there on that enemy Miyoko as he was turning back to port. I got some pretty decent dispersion, and the shells kind of piled one on top of another on top of the ship. But at this point, I decide I am not going to push around this corner, and that's when the Fubuki appears at 6.6 kilometers as I started to turn back to port. So I switch my secondaries to start shooting at the Fubuki. My 2 forward turrets completely miss, but once again, you're going to see here just how quickly his hit points are going to deteriorate with my secondaries shooting at him. And again, it's something that is just so powerful about the ship. Even in tier 10 games, if you're able to close the distance to ships like Iowa or Montana, you're really going to put the hurting on them. I've got 5 secondary hits so far on the Fubuki. Looking for my next shot here with my 2 forward turrets, and I do get those shots out. Will I manage a couple hits? Yes, I do. Get 2 overpens, and then my secondaries finish off the kill. First kill of the game for me, that tier 8? No, tier 6. Yeah, the Fubuki's tier 6. It is tier 6. Kill that Japanese destroyer. 52,000 points of damage done. 49 secondary hits and 14 hits with the regular guns. So a pretty good start here, but again, I don't want to continue chasing after those 2 Japanese heavy cruisers. They're just going to kite me along, and it's not going to be a good day for me whatsoever. So there's no point in just getting into a concealment battle with those 2 cruisers. So I decided to turn back around. Unfortunately, my buddy Spider, he actually disconnected, and he got killed because of it because he was sitting out in the open. So we're down one of our best players on the team, so now it is up to me and Pun to carry the game. Now the Kagero is going to continue to move on towards the enemy cap over there, and he will get some spots on those Japanese heavy cruisers, which will prove vital here in the upcoming minutes of this next engagement. Now, as I'm heading around the corner here, obviously I've since long went undetected, and I'm looking for an ambush shot here on this enemy New Orleans. The Kagero is starting to turn away from him because obviously the New Orleans has the radar consumable. So I'm going to get ready for a nice broadside here, and this New Orleans has no idea what's happening. He has no idea that I'm coming around the corner, or at least probably not. If he was paying attention to the minimap, he could have seen that I decided to head over here, but nonetheless, I come around the corner, and he's a full broadside, 10 kilometers away, get the shots out, and the dispersion is going to be rather unfortunate. Only managed to get 1 citadel and a couple overpens, but I still do a solid 15,000 points of damage, and now I'm well within my secondary range, so this New Orleans is going to have to turn away, or he will continue to take more punishment from my guns. It's basically, as Putin likes to put it and joke around, it's basically like strapping 2 Nürnbergs on the side of this battleship, because that's just how deadly the secondaries can be. The Kagero does manage to finish off the New Orleans because he had to turn away to try and get out of the range of my secondaries. More shells falling in on the Miyoko there. 3,300 damage done, not too bad. I do get lit on fire, but whatever. Going to let it burn. No big deal. I still have the vast majority of my hit points, so it's really not that much of a problem. We have lost 5 ships already to the enemy's 4, and we are losing 321 to 431, but nonetheless, when you're in a Bismarck, it doesn't really matter because any situation you feel just powerful enough and tanky enough that you're going to be able to do what needs to be done. Get my 2 forward turrets there now on the enemy Colorado at 14 kilometers away, and once again, you'll just notice the dispersion is... It's not the best. I do manage to land a couple hits there and do about 5,000 points of damage, but this thing's primary engagement range, quite frankly to me, is once you hit its secondary range. Again, 10.6 with a full secondary build. That is including the flag to slightly increase its range. So now at this point, I'm looking here for shots on the Miyoko. He's well within secondary. He's 6.5 kilometers away, but I do have to worry about his torpedoes. So it's at this point that I pop my hydroacoustic, and I couldn't have popped it any sooner because I detect torpedoes that are coming in. I don't know if it's from the Miyoko, but it might be from the Otago as well, because if you remember, he was being all sneaky and moving around in this direction as well. So I do manage, and there we go. The Otago appears at 11.2 kilometers, so those were indeed torpedoes from the Miyoko. So I know that I'm going to have a little bit of time here before his torpedoes are reloaded, and this Otago is making a horrific mistake. He's sailing right at me, and it's going to allow my secondaries to once again be able to open up on him and slowly but surely take him out. I do get a full broadside out at him as he is relatively bow on, and again, just listen to the secondaries, just pepper away. Very good stuff. Once again, this is going to be a very good result secondary-wise in this game, and that's something that you really need to take advantage of in your Bismarck. You have to close the distance, and you have to man up and, you know, go for it when the opportunity presents itself. So once again, the secondaries continue. You can see they're just incapacitating modules, breaking things. They will be starting some fires here too, just because of the sheer rate of fire and the amount of guns that you have. You actually are a very good fire starter in this ship, and someone getting Arsonist or Witherer in a Bismarck is something that is, well, it doesn't happen too often, but it certainly is something that I have seen quite a few times before. So at this point, the Miyoko decided to move all the way into the islands that are just off my port side. There we go. I set a fire on the Otago, and he actually ran into that island. So now I have a very interesting decision to make here. Do I train my guns on the Miyoko and come around the corner, or do I train my guns on the enemy Atago? I mean, I could let my secondaries finish him off. My buddy Puddin is getting some nice shots into him, so at this point I decide, you know what? I'm going to let my secondaries finish off that Atago. I now have to deal with the Miyoko because it looks like he's coming around the corner, and he's getting ready to try and torpedo me with his port side of torpedoes. So my secondaries continue to go in on the Atago. I do manage a couple hits there on the Miyoko. He's still at 10,000 health, so now I'm in a really precarious position here. So at this point, I decide as I get my second secondary kill of the game on the Atago that I'm going to try and go for the ram. However, I am going to miss. I don't turn enough in time, and he's going to be able to get right past me. But unfortunately, he makes a horrific mistake and drops all of his torpedoes way too close. They have no time to arm. I got completely lucked out by that, and now I'm waiting for my secondaries to finish him off, and Puddin's shells come in right in the nick of the right time there, finishing off that Tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser. So thank you very much, Puddin, helping me out there. I made a horrible misplay. Was not able to get the ram. I definitely would have been able to get it and still live due to the angle that I would have hit the Miyoko at, but nonetheless, I still managed to walk away, and I'm going to use my last damage control party as a consumable, so that's okay. And as you can see in chat, the Miyoko was completely confused why he did not do any torpedo damage. I think the torpedo arming range is somewhere around 400 to 500 meters, so 0.4 to 0.5 kilometers for those that are not mathematically inclined. And as I continue to back up here from the island, myself and Puddin, we're going to make a push now for the enemy base as he gives me a little love tap there. It's 373 to 403. This has been a very fast-paced game. We're just over 11 minutes in, and 8 ships apiece have been sunk. So this has been one of those higher-tier games that's actually really exciting, and there's still plenty more that needs to be done. Unfortunately, there's 4 battleships. There's an Amagi, a Gneisenau, a Nagato, and a Dunkirk that's on full health that's over near the cap. So we still got our work cut out for us. So at this point, again, Puddin was like, hey, let's go for the cap. We were obviously chatting on Discord. That's what we use to communicate. And we're like, yeah, let's go for it. So the Amagi takes out our friendly New Mexico. So it's now a 3 versus 4 situation. Now, we do have a friendly destroyer behind us. I believe it's a Mahan. And no, it's the Kagero still, I think. Don't recall. I don't know if the Kagero died or not. Anyway, we're going up towards the enemy cap, and at this point, it's basically like, okay, we're going to definitely have an advantage here. It's going to be myself and Puddin, and there was that Dunkirk that I mentioned earlier that's going to be up near the cap, but those enemy battleships were way over there by the D line, or where the D cap would be, excuse me. Gosh, I love domination so much, and just standard battle kind of sucks, but they're over where the D cap would be along the 9 and 10 line, so they're definitely not stupid. They do realize that there's 2 ships that will be coming in towards their cap, so the enemy Nagato appears at 16 kilometers, and he is trying to come back to help defend the base. Get a full broadside out here on that Tier 7 Japanese battleship. He does have the 16-inch gun, so he will be able to get some good penetrating damage in if he gets a good salvo on me. However, he has pretty weak armor. And with 3 shells that actually fail to penetrate his armor, I still managed to hit 3 others that do damage and do about 9,000 worth. So that's very good. His 2 forward guns shoot at me, and I turn in slightly, and I'm able to dodge his shells. So I go undetected yet again. Again, I mentioned earlier, 14.3 is my concealment. I do not have the concealment build on this ship because I don't have enough captain's points yet. But definitely I'm going to take advantage of that when I can. So now if we get a relatively full health Dunkirk coming in. So at this point, I ask Puddin if he's able to pop his smoke. So what I'm going to try to do is move into his smoke. He's going to stay in there and cap and get all the capping points. So even if I start to take some nasty damage, it's not really going to reset us too much on the timer. Because, again, when you're capping an enemy base, it's, you know, if you hit the ship that's been in the cap the longest, you're going to get the biggest reset on it. So there's no point for Puddin to show himself. He's still undetected from that Dunkirk. And any second now, he's going to pop his smoke as he launches his port side torpedoes, 3 of them to be exact, down at the Dunkirk. Now, he's actually getting some really good penetrating damage on me because I just really hadn't taken too much whatsoever in this course of the game. I had, again, the majority of my hit points. I still have 2/3 of my hit points, and I do go undetected as Puddin pops his smoke. So the plan here was to be able to continue my turn to starboard, so by the time that I come out of the smoke, I would be angled away from the Dunkirk, and obviously he's well within my secondaries. However, I come out completely broadside. I misjudged the turn a little bit, and again, this is only my second game, so I'm still getting used to how it performs. I take a massive hit in the side, 10,000 damage from his 1 turret. His second shells come on in and do another 8,000 damage, so all of a sudden I lost almost 20k damage there, completely unnecessary. However, Puddin does manage to get 2 solid torpedo hits on that guy, just as the enemy Gneisenau appears behind us as well, so we got a 3v2 situation appearing here. Puddin is still in his smoke, and my secondaries continue to go to town on the enemy Dunkirk, set him on fire. He obviously burned his damage con a couple seconds ago due to the torpedo hits that he received, so I'm going to let my secondaries do the talking here. More shells coming in, and I managed to bounce the majority of them, both on the starboard and the port side there. And again, this is something that you can do relatively easily in your Bismarck. You get in close, turn away from the ship, and kite them towards you, and just let your secondaries absolutely go to town. You can see 40 hits on the Dunkirk and still climbing. Putin manages to launch his next salvo of torpedoes out. He's still sitting in the smoke. He's undetected. There's no chance of him getting really taken out unless they just decided to blind fire. The Nagato is also 8.5 kilometers off my stern, within range of my secondaries as well. Pick up the high caliber, 148,000 points of damage. I managed to set a couple fires on the Dunkirk. He's going to die from Putin's torpedoes. Very good stuff there. So at this point, Putin decides that he's going to GTFO and move out of his smoke, because that Nagato, if it was 8.5 kilometers away from me, 8.7 at this point, it's only about 4 away from him. So now my secondaries are trained onto the Nagato, and I continue to pump him away with my guns. There we go. Get a pretty decent hit there. 3,800. Pick up the Confederate now, 158,000 points of damage. And again, I'm just kiting away, keeping myself angled. Putin takes a massive hit from the Nagato because obviously he's a big threat with those torpedoes. So the Nagato is going to start to turn to his port side. And just look at the fires and the secondary hits that I've gotten on the guy. I think I got at least 2 fires going, and his hit points are certainly getting eradicated as we speak. Set another fire. And again, the fire starting capability on the ship is ridiculous with the secondary build. I'm now cracking over 200 secondary hits as Putin gets the majority of his hit points back. Actually, that Nagato is just burning alive, and this is just absolutely glorious. I set another fire. He has to use his damage con now because he has no other choice, and at this point I feel safe enough that I'm going to continue my turn now to port, and I'm going to try to get a full broadside here out on this Japanese battleship. Full broadside out, there we go. Shells are flying in. Let's see what kind of damage I do. I get some incredible penetrations through the bow. 15,000 points of damage. However, it is the secondaries that finish the job off, and that is my 3rd kill of the game with secondaries, and there's still an enemy Gneisenau that we have to deal with, up to 191,000 points of damage. Putin coming in clutch with the smoke, the torpedoes, and the timely shots on those battleships. And basically, he took the attention away from me, which allowed my secondaries to just absolutely obliterate them. And that's just solid team play. So Putin, I want to really thank you for that. Very good stuff right there. We turned a 3 versus 2 into a 1 versus 2. And now all we have to worry about is this Tier 7 German battleship. The Gneisenau, he does have the torpedoes, but there's no point for me to get within 6 kilometers of him. So I'm going to start to turn to starboard a little bit and still keep the distance up as my secondaries continue to pepper him and his superstructure. Yet another fire. 13 fires that I've set in this game from the secondaries. You can see just how ridiculous it is. Putin pops his smoke and starts to get his last heal going, which he'll be fine. Set another fire on that Gneisenau. The Gneisenau, he's going to die. There's nothing that he can do about it. So at this point, instead of getting in close, like I said earlier, I'm just going to now turn broadside. I have 21,000 hit points. Even if I take a solid salvo from that guy, he's probably not going to kill me with just his 2 forward guns. And I get yet another good one in there, about 4,000 damage. The Gneisenau finally turns his attention to me as I'm turning away, up to over 30 target hits. Take about a 7,000 damaging salvo there. Absolutely no problem. Set another fire. His damage con is out, and he is going to die. Putting shells flying, leave him on 200 health, and my fire is going to take care of the kill. I was hoping to get a 4th secondary kill there, but I pretty much did by setting all those fires. So 205,000 points of damage, high caliber Confederate, and 3 of the 4 kills secondary-wise. Holy crap, what a result in the Bismarck. And this was, again, my 2nd game in this ship after that first one, which was absolutely ridiculous as well. And this was a wonderful game in the Bismarck. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 542,000 credits received, just shy of 9,000 total XP. This was the first win of the day for me in the ship. 3 secondary kills. I get a fireproof. I get Confederate, high caliber, and dreadnought, so a plethora of medals. Very good stuff. 205,861 damage done, 77 target hits and 2 citadels with the main guns, and 271 target hits with the secondaries, and 15 fires set with 4 ships sent to Davy Jones's locker. Taking a look at the team score now, Putin and I easily carrying the team. 2,209 base XP for me. Putin coming in with 2 ships of his own sunk and 2 planes shot down like myself with a pretty respectable 1,300 base XP earned. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Again, I know we featured a lot of Bismarck stuff on the channel, but it's just such a fun ship, and the fact that I just got it and had these ridiculous games, wanted to show you guys what the Sneaky Snake can do in this big brute. With that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off, guys and girls. Have a great day.